Hello, hello. Glad to see you today, or if you're on the replay, thanks for joining. Today I'm going to be talking about ridge and starter as being included in waste or not. So, if you're a contractor out there, you'll probably already think, Alina, what are you talking about? Whether ridge and starter is included, or if it's part of the percentage that the insurance company likes to pay for on your estimates. So that's what we'll be talking about today. I also have a waste calculator that I'll be showing, so be ready for that. We always have our special secret word for the Facebook Live and YouTube Live that we will be sharing, and I'll be doing that here in just a second. So let me get everything set up. I actually ran from another meeting into this one, so I'm gonna go ahead really quick and make sure we've got everything set up for us. All right. Oh, we don't want to do that yet. There we go. Okay. And we'll get going here in just a few minutes. And again, the question's always going to be, does the industry standard of 10% for gable and 15% waste on hip, how does that hold up as far as ridge and starter? And is that true to the waste factor? That's always the never ending question with an adjuster is, where's the waste going to come from? Is it going to be an increase in waste that we're going to have to account for, or is it going to be the ridge and starter being added as separate line items in Xactimate? So I've actually have a waste calculator that shows mathematically why the industry standard 10 or 15% is not sufficient to calculate to show that it's actually over and above the 10 or 15 where you should get your ridge and starter added, whether that's an increase in the waste percentage from the adjuster or they're actually adding the ridge and starter line items. I don't care. Tomato, tomato. But I need extra money for that waste factor because it only includes the field shingle. And so that's what we're going to go over today on this Facebook Live. I'm going to show you my waste calculator, and I'm super excited to get started on that. One thing I will show you too is on something that I used whenever I was in my third-party supplementing business that I had a lot of success with is an Eagle View report. I'm not here to just say, only order Eagle View, but what's great about an Eagle View report is it does have a little blurb on it that I'm going to show you here. And let's get going on that. Okay, so tonight we're talking all about, or if you're watching the replay, thank you for showing up. We are going to talk all about ridge and starter and how to get that paid by the adjuster. So I will start by showing my screen here, and we will go ahead and take a look at an Eagle View as an example. I'm not saying this is the be-all, end-all for what you should be using as far as your roof measurement report, but sorry, it looks like Inception for a second, always when I do this. There we go. And so this is one of the last pages of the Eagle View report, and you'll see here that it gives you the 10%, 12%, 15. On some of the newer reports, it will recommend the waste percentage for you. And again, I'm agnostic. You guys use Hover or whoever, Eagle View. Roofer is a new one. ACT Claims is another one we've been looking at with our members. But this report here, the Eagle View, does have a nice little clause here that says, note, only roof area is included in these waste calculations. They're talking about these waste calculations here. Additional materials needed for ridge, hip, valley, and starter are not included in these percentages. Okay, so usually, like I said, they'll highlight some of these columns and say this is the recommended here on the Eagle View report. And then it makes that nice statement. Note that only roof area is included. So that's helps us back up the fact that this is just for the field shingle. I think in the insurance industry, for some reason, over the years, that it's been, just parroted over and over and over again that the waste factor of 10 or 15 or whatever you're working with includes that ridge and starter. In fact, when I was teaching adjusters, when I started my career 11 years ago, I would show up in Arlington, Texas, ready to teach a 3-day Xactimate class. And I would say the 10 and 15% includes the ridge and starter. So I even was parroting that from the insurance company so many years ago before I learned the real world, what goes on in the real world. And so that's why it's really important that some of these roof measurement reports do say that, to show that we're not making it up as contractors. Some of these industry standard roof measurement reports are also stating that those percentages are just for field shingle. That's not for installing the ridge. Both labor and material for installing ridge, hip, cutting valleys, um, putting the starter in as far as labor and material as well. And that's where the waste calculator comes in. So that's what we're going to be giving away today. I'll go ahead and put up the banner right now as they go through this. So if you'd like to actually use our waste calculator or start to put this in your arsenal of what you will be showing the adjuster, I actually have here, this is what it would look like. So if you text waste to that number down below, we are going to send you the waste calculator that you see here on my screen. And it is something that I used in my third-party supplement business, had a lot of great success with it. Is it a silver bullet to getting your ridge and starter added to an estimate? No, but I would ask for either increased waste or those line items, and usually was able to get somewhere with the adjuster where we had a meeting of minds, because this shows mathematically how that his estimate did not cover ridge and starter. So let's start with the beginning of the waste calculator. It says here, in a bundle of shingles, this is what it should say here, in a bundle of shingles, sorry, in a bundle of shingles, there's an average count of 27 shingles. You can change this, by the way, and it will change the math on the sheet. So if you have more or less shingles per bundle, then you may want to change this. What we're trying to show the adjuster is that with the reveal of the shingles and how long the shingle is in length, X amount will cover, you know, the linear feet for the starter or the linear feet for the ridge. So that's what this calculator shows you, and shows you how the adjuster is short. So we're saying that there's 3 bundles per square. Okay, so if a bundle of shingles has 27 shingles per bundle, it'll cover, one bundle will cover, if we did, I know you can't do it with laminate, guys. That's not the issue, okay? You can't take a laminate shingle and create a ridge. It's just not possible. So what we're saying here, though, we'll take an assumption, because we're trying to show them how their percentage is short mathematically. So fine, we'll take your presupposition that we can use these dumb shingles for a waste factor. So 81 linear feet of starter would be covered by 1 bundle. However, in Xactimate, we don't deal in bundles. We deal squares of roofing, right? And it's also easier to talk squares, which is a 10 by 10 area of roofing. That's more common in the industry. So there's 3 bundles of shingles per square. So 1 square of shingles, if we're going to take your presupposition that we can actually use that as the ridge in the starter. I know you could with 3-tab, but still it would have been short on our waste calculator. You'll see that in a second. Whether this is laminated or 3-tab, it would have, yeah, they're always short in waste, I would say 95% of the time. So 1 square will cover, if we had to lay end to end, 240 linear feet of starter or 101.25 linear feet of ridge if we had to use this presupposition with the 36 inches in length of the shingle with the reveal. Okay, so that's what this is what this whole calculator does. It's so fancy and wonderful, and I love it. So let's say that the adjuster paid for a remove count of 37.65 squares. So that was the removal of shingles on his estimate. His replacement that he allowed for was 43.33 squares. Okay, so that came out to 15.09 waste. All right, well, he paid 15%. However, when that waste percentage there is only, like we show, only the roof area. We need to cut in the rakes. We need to cut in the valleys. All that, the just basic field shingle waste, that starts at 15%. That's not including, as I said, ridge, hip, valley, starter. Okay. So that's where we're going with this. And so when we go into the calculator and I take from a roof measurement report and put in the actual numbers, the total perimeter of the property, we're going to use the starter on the perimeter of the roof. So the perimeter of the roof was 384. That's where we're going to install the starter. And the hip and ridge on the property was 156 linear feet. If I divide those and make them, turn them into the required squares that would be required to cover the starter, if we can take that shingle, which we can't, but we're going to try to do the math for them here, that's what's so great about this calculator. If you want the calculator, text down below that word waste to that number. You get this actual calculator that I'm using. And then the total squares needed for both starter and ridge is 0.12 squares. Okay, Mr. Adjuster, yeah, you paid us 15% waste, but 15% only gives us 5.6 squares that you say will include the field shingle and the ridge and starter in your square count. Okay, fine. Let's actually take out just the ridge and starter would take out of the total squares for the waste. We're only left with 2.56 squares, Mr. Adjuster. And that means that for my field shingle, which should be 15% then ridge and starter, you're only giving me 6.8% waste. How is that working out here? So that's where we take and show them mathematically how the ridge and starter can't be included. And backing it up with some of these roof measurement reports that say these waste percentages only include the roof area. So that's how we wrap it up with a nice tiny little bow there. And let me get back to you guys. Where did you go? You are over here. There you are. And so that's how we show the adjuster mathematically using that waste calculator that your industry standard waste of 10 or 15% or whatever they're using just doesn't add up, and show them that the actual waste percentage for what they paid would be 6%. Then I take those numbers, and since I know that there's such a high probability of me having this, why are you including ridge and starter on your estimate, as line items, that when the adjuster gets my estimate, he's going to, say, why are you including that ridge and starter? I take the numbers from the waste calculator and put them as a line item note attachment to the ridge and starter line items in Xactimate, showing him, hey, you paid for 15% waste. My Eagle View report says that is for field shingle only. Here's why ridge and starter are needed. If I deduct my ridge and starter, you're actually only paying 6% waste when you should be paying 15 to start. So either they need to pay those two line items, or they need to come up to a correct waste percentage that does include ridge and starter, which would be up maybe in the, if we were looking at that waste calculator, we could back out the amount. Maybe it would be more in the 18 to 20% range. Just looking at the actual squares of shingle needed for both field shingle and the ridge and starter. Okay, so again, if you want to see my waste calculator, that's what we're giving away on this Facebook Live. If you're watching the replay, you can also text, and we will give you that waste calculator as well. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to show you one more thing on my screen here. Whenever you text in, it will be a little bot that says, hey, where should I send the waste calculator? And then you enter your email address. You're going to get a link to this sheet. So please note that with this sheet, you do need to go to File and make a copy in the Google Drive. It will not let you edit this sheet. You will not have access to making any edits on this sheet. It is something you need to make a copy, and then you can have full access. Okay, so the other thing I want to mention is everything that's in yellow on my sheet is what you need to fill out. So you as the user, you can see here, I filled out these yellow bits of information. The waste calculator does the rest for you. It'll fill out all the other math for you. All you need to do is fill in the yellow sections, the yellow fields. So it looks a little funny when you actually get my waste calculator because there's these X's. That just means that's where you put in the information, and then the waste calculator will spit out everything else, and it's a beautiful thing. So like if I put in here 25, and down here, maybe he paid 27.67, it'll start to fill out the particulars for you, and then it wouldn't be so confusing. Okay, so that's what you want to do. You want to fill out all the fields here, and that's where the user inputs the data. So just wanted to mention that, because some people, when they get the waste calculator, like, how do I use this thing? So that hopefully will help you there. So yeah, if you text down below, text waste to that number, we're giving away that calculator. And hopefully that'll be useful for your adjuster discussions. Be sure to comment if you have any questions, or if you have used it in the past. This is full disclosure. This is something I've talked about before. This isn't the first time. So if you found it useful, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I hope that you text that number, and we'll get that waste calculator over to you. And I look forward to seeing you next week. I'll be back here again at 6 p.m. Central every Tuesday. I'm through pretty much the middle of November. I will be here every week talking about something and giving away a freebie. So be sure to join me next week. Let's see, what are we going to talk about next week? We'll be talking about writing estimates in one click. So just to give you a preview, I love macros. And so next week, we're going to talk all about macros, and I'm going to be giving away my most popular macro. So that's what we'll be doing next week. Hope you have a great week in your business, and I will see you next Tuesday.